if the relationship is going to move forward, start talking finance. Start talking building a house or acquiring assets. Start talking about it before you even say, I do.
Is it a red flag if that 19-year-old has met someone and anytime they talk about money, one person doesn't want to talk about it?
Oh. In marriage, even when you do counseling, they tell you the man is the provider. He is the protector.
It's a wrong statement?
It's a...
Do you think it is important for couples to put their money together?
This concept of the man has to provide everything is flawed.
Finance is the third biggest cause for divorce within marriages. There's a lot more to think about before saying I do, and money is a topic not to be skipped. In this episode, we sit down with renowned life coach Richard Akita to dive deep into the financial do's and don'ts before marriage. From budgeting as a couple to the tough money conversations you must have, we're covering it all. Grab your notepads. This is a discussion you don't want to miss.
Many brothers out there, many sons out there are suffering because they have seen their heroes, their fathers do it all. And I tell you this, it was an illusion. There are seasons in my life that I didn't have 1 cedi or 1 pence in my pocket. In the space of 3 years, my wife saved enough money for us to finish our house. And the house I'm talking about is the dream home. It is not how beautiful she is. It is, can she respect you?
Welcome to Connected Minds podcast. Once again, my name is Derrick. And I tell you what, so there was a survey that was done, right? And the survey said that the first biggest cause of divorce is communication. Second is infidelity. And number 3, very important, is finance. So today, the conversation we're going to have is going to be about finance, money, because I know that's what a lot of my audience are about. What can we do? What should we do? What should we not do? And my conversation today is with, and I call him a coach, Coach Richard, a fantastic man I met a couple of months ago, and his illustrations, his understanding, and his depth took me. And I said, nah, let's plan a conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. Stick with me and get your fingers ready, because you're about to type in the comment section. How are you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Done a lot of setup here.
Yes, I can see that.
Running around. But I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. When I check your Instagram, right, I'm always expecting more. So anytime I check it, I've got the Oliver Twist on. More. So please, can you post like 20 times a day? Because that's a lot of, nuggets you give us. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that great feedback.
Yeah.
I will look into that.
Yeah. I had my my analyst as well that was researching into your Instagram and LinkedIn as well. And she was also asking for more. So we want more.
Certainly.
I think it's so good. Some of the things that you post, to be fair.
Thank you.
Right. Where do we start this? Finance. Maybe the first question is going to be too loaded, but how important is it to put together a finance in marriage or partnership?
Yes, it's a loaded question. However, the finance is the air in your relationship. Without that, you suffocate. It's not the blood. It's the air. Everything rises or falls based on your financial standing. And having the understanding between two parties who decide to journey together, whether in a marriage or even in just a relationship, if they don't have their finance right, the foundation of that relationship is on quicksand, and it will show up. Majority of the time, in our relationships, we go for the physical part, which excites a lot of us. And when you have the physical part, without building the necessary blocks on communication, on finance, on goal setting and all those other things, pardon me to say, after sex, what do you talk about? And I know we're talking about finance, but intimacy does not sustain the relationship. So now the question is, what do we need to do? We've got to go back and look at how are we building our relationships. And finance, even though it's the third, it still causes most problems in relationships.
Why? Because you had your financial aspect separate, had mine separate before we even met. So why is this such a problem when two people come together?
Because we want to journey together. And when we look at it as a partnership, if I use the business entrepreneurship model, partners come together and they've got to invest together. So they know what strength they have, financial muscle they have. So they don't punch either below or above their weight. They know exactly where they are going. But because of this misunderstanding, misconception, and sometimes misdirection, we tend to think my finance is my personal problem or my personal thing, and my other half is the same thing. So we don't talk about finance. And let me go to the African context.
Yep.
Where the woman's money belongs to the woman. The man's money belongs to the home. Who came up with such a stupid idea?
Still trying to find out.
Because you're asking yourself, if we're working together to even forget children, if we want to build a house, how do we, as a couple, plan it and make sure that we enjoy the fruits of our labor? How do we come together and plan a life that suits both of us? This concept of the man has to provide everything is flawed. And sadly, sometimes, biblically, we look at scriptures and sometimes we quote scriptures. Provision doesn't come from man. No man can provide. If the good Lord decides to bless you, the man, to have more money than your spouse, it's a blessing. What happens in the situation when the woman is blessed more than you? Is that going to affect your ego? So finance is quite a great area that we need to look at. And even when I look at, let me go back to my foundation. If I look at scripture, Christ spoke a lot about finances. And do you know that Christ only said the competition between worshiping God and worshiping money? He didn't talk about the devil. The competition for our soul is worshiping a God that we can trust to bring us resources or grant us the strategies to get our resources or chase money. So as a Christian, how do you balance the two? And this is where the conversation of us being in a place where we're getting our foundation right is important. Many brothers out there, many sons out there are suffering because they have seen their heroes, their fathers, do it all. And I tell you this, it was an illusion. The good marriages of our parents was that my mom would earn money and give it to my dad and made my dad appear to be the one in control of finances.
Is that what should be happening?
It's how you decide to do it, as in, it's how you agree to do it. And if the two people who have decided to journey together can come to an agreement, the children will not see where there's a lack. Because the head of the home, which is supposed to be the man, if he is comfortable and he's paying bills and mom is not complaining about it, there's peace at home. But when there's no money in the house, you tell me, the wife wants she wants to look good, but there's no money. How long will she keep praying? How long will she keep praying for you to step up? So it's one of the things that I encourage anyone going into marriage to have that conversation. I have been blessed to be married to the one woman for 36 years and counting. And Derrick, there are seasons in my life that I didn't have 1 cedi or 1 pence in my pocket. But when you see me, you would never think that, because my wife knows where I am financially and she will support me. She will give me money when I need money. And when I need money, I am not too big in my 6'2" and 16 stones. And I still say to her, sweetheart, I need some money. She will give me money. When business is not doing what it's supposed to do, she's aware of it. But when I was much younger, I used to think, well, I'm supposed to be the man. So I shouldered a lot of these things. I won't tell her the financial challenges I was having. And she just kept saying, do you need help? And until I came to that full realization that until I can speak about the issues I was facing, I will not get the help.
But why do you think most men don't speak about their financial situation?
Because of our orientation. In marriage, even when you do counseling, they tell you that the man is the provider. He is the protector.
It's a wrong statement?
It's a true statement. How can you provide if you don't know where your source is? And that's something we need to identify. So I said earlier that in your relationship, in your marriage, let me work with marriage. It makes it easier for me in my conversation. But if you are married and your wife is earning more money than you, that's a household income. You want your children to go to the best school. Your salary cannot pay their school fees. And you are killing yourself when the household income can take care of that plus more.
Well, you know what? Some women too want to keep their money.
Orientation.
What should we be doing to make sure we have the household income?
Number one, I blame us as fathers.
Okay.
We spoil our daughters and we give them the impression that we are the source. Our mothers also reinforces it. Go and ask your dad for money. Go and ask your dad for money. So when she's now grown up, when she's marrying you, thank God for our wonderful Sigmund Freud, where he says that we end up marrying our parents. Because the character, there are some behavioral traits of your parents that when you go looking for a husband or a wife, you would pick. So that's what you're familiar to. For a young lady, her first love is her dad. So she admires her dad. And for us guys, it's our mom. Go back in history. Look at your mom, look at your wife, and start comparing some of the things she does. And all of a sudden, you've married your mom. So coming back to your question, if dad has been the one who has been giving his daughters money all the time and not training her to understand that the money I'm giving you is not just coming from dad's pocket, it's coming from both mom and dad, the bank of mom and dad. We are giving you this money. That starts to put it in perspective. But when they go to marriage and they've had everything supplied by dad, what the young lady goes into marriage, she's told, the man will pay the bills. Because she's seen her dad pay bills all her life. So you and I appear on the scene and we want to be tough. And what do? We want to impress her. We want to impress her. So because you've seen a nice woman and you're going after her, you want to impress her. So you're taking her to all the fancy places. In the meantime, you haven't got money with you. You're borrowing money to impress a woman. Fundamental error. If the woman doesn't know that you're poor, but you have a vision, and she comes alongside with you, it is because of your vision, not your financial state. Many young men are very quick to buy flashy cars, take their dates to flashy hotels and flashy restaurants. But in doing all of this, you give the impression that I am sufficient.
Right.
Now, when you have a problem, how do you go back to the person whom you've shown sufficiency to and say, babe, I need money? So these are some of the things that affects the relationship. So I say to every guy out there, hey, maybe not on your first date, but if the relationship is going to move forward, start talking finance. Start talking building a house or acquiring assets. Start talking about it before you even say, I do. Because in that process, if you can even set up joint accounts, a building project account, land purchasing account, and start putting money in there now, by the time you say, I do, you've already got, boy, you can buy your land, you can build a house in a short space of time.
As a matter of fact, that's what we did. So we were able to do the first one before we even said I do.
That's it.
I tell you what, before that thing clicked, that this is the woman I want to marry, we went out for a date, put out my card to pay. She put out hers as well. And I said, It's clicked.
Yes, but our ego says the African way is I pay.
I still paid.
I pay. and it's an ego thing. And you know, it is quite liberating to meet a woman who you go on a date and she says, I'm paying.
Yeah.
She's offered.
Well, I don't know what she's going to think if I allowed her to pay. A lot of women, they will do that. They will pull out their card and put out money as if they want to pay. But if you allow them to pay, to them it's a red flag.
How?
Oh, this is a conversation they have all the time.
How is it
to
a red
them,
flag?
it's a red flag because you allow them to pay.
Okay. So that's why I said
it's a trick. It's they basically just trying to trick us.
Yes, but on the first date, I would say make sure that you have enough money to pay. But if it's something that you're looking at it becoming a regular thing, then when you're going out on a date, you've got to talk about it. You know, I challenge couples when I'm doing premarital counseling with them. I challenge them to go on a 5 cedi date.
What that mean?
They've got to go out and all they can spend is 5 cedis.
In today's Ghana?
In today's Ghana.
Wow.
So they have a 5 cedi date, a 10 cedi date, and a 20 cedi date. Recently, I increased it to 50 cedis. But all I am looking for is creativity. Because 5 cedis can't buy you anything. We can't buy much. Right? Even if you're buying coffee broke man. Roasted plantain, for those who don't know what it is. If you're buying roasted plantain, you only get one. What do you do for the 2 or 3 hours you're together? And it is building the art of conversation. And these are some of the building blocks. So the focus is not on money, but the focus is on us learning to talk, learning to negotiate. So that's what I do.
This conversation about the man can provide, the woman can provide. How many women do you think will stay in a marriage or in a relationship that they're the only ones providing? As a matter of fact, they provide the most.
How can two walk except they be agreed? If your wife and yourself cannot agree on your finances, that's a red flag for both.
But you understand that it's a very difficult thing.
It should
for
be.
For a woman that is solely providing for a marriage. In fact, most women will leave.
So what is the difference when a man is providing solely in the marriage?
They are comfortable.
So does that mean that the man should always be the one providing?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the other gender finds it very daunting and very difficult to be the ones providing.
Orientation. You know, back in 83, when I first went to the UK, I remember Mr. Buckingham, my maths teacher. And Mr. Buckingham taught us for like 2 terms, and then he resigned. And I thought, okay. And he gave us a reason why he was resigning. His wife and himself had started a family. The wife was earning more money than him. And they decided that it would be good if he was the homemaker. And the man agreed, resigned, fantastic maths teacher, resigned and became the homemaker whilst his wife was earning more money. If love is the thing that binds you, agreeing to move forward shouldn't be a hassle.
Can you do that?
I have lived it and I am living it.
Okay.
I've been married for 36 years. I remember when I first started my first business in 1998. And I had a cleaning company in the UK. I was working 60 hours a week and I was paying myself £60 a month. I had a mortgage, which was £700 a month at the time. Then we had the council tax, or we had the poll tax first before council tax. How did I survive on £60 a month? Oh, by the way, I had 2 wonderful children too. And my appetite was not an Englishman appetite. My wife provided. She understood for a season that we were sowing into a business. So for 3 to 4 years, my wife provided. When the tables turned around and now the income on my side had increased, it didn't become, oh, I've provided, so now it's your turn to provide. It became an addition. So all of a sudden, we go from an income where the household income was 1,060 to all of a sudden to 3,060.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it is important for couples to put their money together?
Yes. It's the air in your relationship.
Why should they put it together? Because my money is my money, your money is your money. Maybe
Yes.
there'll be times that I want to spend on things that I like and you may not agree. So for that reason, I want to be able to, have control over my money and you have
Certainly.
control over your money.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are a couple of ways about it. One of the ways is coming up with a budget. How many couples actually have a financial budget for 2025? Because if you do, you know what your outgoings are. So you can agree and have a joint account where if, let's say, let me use 1,000 cedis as the total household income. If your outgoings is 700 cedis and the woman is earning 3,000 and the man is earning 2,000, they can agree that out of their salary, they will fund the bills. So in a central pot, they put money into that account that would deal with the bills.
Okay.
Now, these bills also include school fees, car maintenance, car notes, food. So anything that is leaving your account
It's going towards the home, right?
everything goes into this one pot. They need their independence. So there's a certain amount of money so in this way, they put some money into this pot, then out of what they have left, they choose to spend it anyhow. That's one of the ways. The other way is that both salary goes into one pot. And out of that pot, the woman will say, or the gentleman will say, okay, I need 200 cedis a month to look after myself, my shaving stick and my smelling good and all those sort of things. I need 200. You see, I went from cedis to pounds, forgive me. My 200 cedis a month. And the woman said, okay, fine, I need 300 cedis a month. So both income go into one pot. And then out of that, 200 goes to the man, 300 goes to the woman. And they both spend it anyhow they want. They don't account for that. But the central fund is there to finance the land purchase, building the home, buying a car, paying school fees, doing education fund, investment. So can you see? So your identity is not lost.
Yeah. So the problem is that a lot of people are saying that because marriages don't last a lot these days, they don't want to do that. Because if they do that and something happened, let's say the man goes outside or the woman does, then now they need to come and sit down again and, somebody may block the other person out of the account. They don't want to do that.
I like this question. So they don't trust each other then?
Yeah. Well, it's not trust. We are being careful here because the lifespan of marriage is not forever anymore, right? So why should I bring all my money into a pot?
For a season. Yes. If the marriage breaks, you
then
walk away.
We need to go and sit down again. This guy, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't want to talk to this girl anymore. And I still want to sit down and then have a conversation with them about some money in a pot. I don't want to do that.
Derrick, if the marriage breaks, God forbid, but if the marriage breaks, reality is that sometimes it does.
Yes.
If it breaks, your salary doesn't go into the account. Her salary doesn't go into the account.
Yeah, but maybe there's still some money left in there.
So you deal with what's left in there.
But I don't want to have conversations with this person because the reason why we're divorcing is because they are annoying.
Okay, they are annoying, but even if they are annoying, it is not because of the finance. It's because of something else.
Yes,
but then something else.
But then when we are running away with the finance because that's what we have. And we split the properties and the kids. Maybe. So we want to make it as easy as possible.
I am going to be offensive with my next statement. It's a very small mind for anyone when the marriage breaks down to then start grumbling, trying to take whatever they can to walk away. Remember, when you came together, you didn't have anything.
But you built it together. So
exactly.
why shouldn't they be taking it?
No, you've built it together. So if it fails, come to an agreement of how to walk away. Many divorce is one of the most heartbreaking things anybody goes through. And if they don't have agreement, remember the conversation about having dates, talking earlier.
Yep.
If these things are not being done from the early stages, then when it comes to divorce, then all I am seeing is me, not the other person. But if before, there are some relationships that has gone to a divorce, but yet they're co-parenting. Yet they're still looking after, they are providing finances to make sure that their children are still secure. Why can't this be done? I know every situation is different.
Yeah.
So based on each situation, we'll know how to
navigate. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, let me stop you here for a minute. If you've been watching this show, I want you to subscribe and become part of the family. We are on a journey of changing the lives of people on this channel. And we appreciate you for being here. But if you haven't become part of the family, connect with us. Hit the subscribe button. Now let's carry on the conversation. And this is a beautiful question, that I got, right? I'm a young man, got like 5 properties, 2 cars, 3 businesses. I'm doing fantastic. Have no wife. Should I go for someone who's also made up? Or should I go down? What should I do?
Selfishly, invest in your future so that you can selflessly serve your spouse.
Keep going.
So you are at a place where you're comfortable.
Yes. Very comfortable.
Secure your future.
What does that mean?
Invest. Have plans. You have 5. Maybe you want 10. I don't know. But whatever it is that you're doing and it's working.
But I want to get married.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the person that you have seen is not status. Because what we have to remember is this. Marriage, your wife is your helper. And it is not how beautiful she is. It is, can she respect you? Can she submit to you? And this submission has caused so many problems.
So then I'll pause you there. So then that means that if I've got my money and I'm comfortable and I've got it together and I'm looking for somebody that will respect and honor and submit to me, then I can't go for somebody higher or on my level. It has to be someone.
Then there's a warp in your self-worth.
Okay.
Because I'm just saying, if you say, can I go for somebody lower? in your mind, you've already devalued the person before you start going after them.
We're talking about finance.
No, you're talking about marriage. Two different things.
Okay.
Because you've said, I'm comfortable. Now I want to get married. Do I go for the higher end of the spectrum? Or
Someone who's also got money or someone who doesn't have money.
Yes. The moment you start classifying, then your relationship is transactional. And when it comes to divorce, these are the ones that most probably before marriage, they'll do a prenup.
Yes. You don't think that is important? That was going to be in the next thing. You don't think it's important to do a prenup?
It is important based on the conversation you guys are having. So if I feel weak enough that I can't, after marriage, even if my marriage fails, I can't go back out there and build myself again, then I'll do a prenup. This is just a personal opinion.
Right, okay.
But prenups will work if what you have at stake, you don't feel comfortable taking it to the marriage. Now, when you do that, both of you are protecting what you value most. But I thought the marriage is supposed to be the most important thing. So the prenup presupposes that the moment I have a problem, I'm protecting my money. But if you go into the marriage that even though I have money, I'm marrying somebody, not just because of love, but understanding that we're going to journey together. And in this journey, there's going to be potholes.
But what's the journey? Like, what are we doing? Because two people get married. They have no solid finances. They have the communication all right. And they have a plan to build and, secure their finance and then the kids and that.
Yeah.
But if the man or the woman is coming in and they already have all this together, they have their money and they just need a wife or a husband and to have kids and to raise a family with, why should they not protect what they've built before the marriage?
Well, if putting it that way, I will still say to you, you've achieved where you need to be, but there's much more. It's a myopic mind to think that I've achieved so much, so I'm getting a woman so that I can have children and make sure that my children are comfortable. It's very small thinking for us to be at a place where we're thinking, well, if this is the case, then let me get somebody who I am financially more secure than they are or more independent than they are. Why not flip it around and say, let me get a woman or my partner, let my partner come on board and let's take over the whole world so that what I have is minuscule to what we can build. And start looking at what you can build together, not even considering divorce, separation, but looking at the possibilities and the sky being the limit.
Wait, hold on. Is it bad to consider that they could put, look, like right now, our biggest consideration is that we are going to die.
Okay.
Right? Now, if you're married, what breaks the marriage is divorce.
No, death breaks the marriage.
Okay, no. Well, death is the ultimate, as we already spoke about. That we have no control over. But divorce may be our actions here and there.
Yeah.
So that can happen because you don't know what is happening in the marriage.
True.
It can happen like the way accidents do.
Listen.
So don't you think that it is important to, and I'm saying this thing because these are questions that people have also sent to me.
No, yeah.
Don't you think it is important? I think it is important to protect what you have. If you have it before the person comes in, then you can start from scratch again because you never know the motive of people. Your motive may be great. Oh, I want to marry this person because I love her, and I want to take her on this journey with me. Let's go together. But you never know why that person is coming
Derrick, in. Is it because she's a trophy? Is it because you are whipped? Is it because she just boosts your ego? This thing called marriage, we shouldn't jump into it very lightly. Because when you have a lady that you want to get married to, you should have had some conversations. And not everyone will go for premarital counseling. But the two of you need to plan. You need to talk. And from the beginning, you said finance.
But
let's talk about finance.
We are, but we are still in finance.
No, what I'm saying, the couple should talk about the finances.
But I feel like we are missing this whole thing. We're making it look like this is going to be a 20-year-old. But there's going to be somebody in their 50s, right? Who's got heavy financial backings. They've already have kids. They don't even need kids anymore. They need to put a prenup together.
Okay. There's always exception to the rule. And I know where you're going with this. But I will encourage that even those who do the prenup, at the point of divorce, they almost agree how much they'll settle.
And I think that's fair.
And if that's what makes them happy, fine. Yeah. But all I'm just saying is, based on the scenario, once you use the word young, forgive my mind, because once you use the word young, I was not putting somebody at 50. So, but I can understand if they've been married before and due to some circumstances they're no longer married, either through divorce or separation or death, then yes, they've got to protect what they have. But even in doing so,
okay, yeah.
The law will recognize the wife. The law will sort out the wife when a divorce happens.
We're not saying we should not sort out anyone. I'm just saying that it is important too. Because if you're saying a 50-year-old who's probably been divorced before, had kids before, and due to trauma, they want to protect. Well, why can't a 35-year-old who started working their ass off at 19 to build their wealth do the same?
Well, there's nothing stopping them. But the point I'm making is that whatever you're protecting, you're going to spend a lot of your energy protecting it.
That's true.
And it would reduce the amount of effort you're putting into building the marriage, because it becomes another notch in your goal list. So I want to get married. I'm now married. When there's a problem in the marriage, there's this likelihood that you will walk away and not fight for the marriage. So it's looking at the priorities. And I would say prenups are good. Certain times, yeah, you can do it. But will you still sign a prenup as well as work very hard on preserving the sanctity of your marriage? Finance will give you that air. And from the earlier statement, for the younger people, the 19-year-old or those under 20, say up to about 30, and they are not married, I just say to them, finances is key. Start investing in your future. Let me even just digress briefly. Younger people, younger men, they start rising up, making loads of money. And if they are not careful, they are then put in a place where they then have to start looking after the extended family, have to look after their siblings. Some of these situations are unavoidable. But even in that situation, you've still got to be selfish to put some money aside for your future. Because when we fail to do that, we end up in the season of gathering, spending. And the financial drain on us reduces our ability to become a fountain.
Is it a red flag if that 19-year-old has met someone and anytime they talk about money, one person doesn't want to talk about it?
Oh, run away from that. It doesn't matter how pretty she is. Run away.
Or he is.
Well, from the man's perspective, so run away.
Why?
Because the problems we face in our marriages were not invented when we said I do. The problems we face in our marriage was already in existence, but we never spoke about it. But the day you say I do, all the things you're doing, all the nonsense that you're doing, that all of a sudden your wife is going, oh, hold on a minute. I didn't know he was like this. No, he was always like that. You just did not have that conversation. So when I say run away, literally, we've got to look at, hey, we can't talk about finances. If we can't talk about it now, imagine when the winds of life blow in an eastern wind, where you, the man, your business is struggling. If you didn't talk about finances then, how can you go to the woman who you didn't talk to her about it
Right.
to not help you? So if the woman does not want to talk about finances and she says to you from the onset, I expect a man to look after me, to pay for everything, and you turn around and say, okay, that's me. That's my chest. Shoot, and I'll take it on board. If that's what you both agree. So you see, if you, the man, agree that this is what I want to do, God help you. Go out there and do it. My dad was working. My mom was housewife or the homemaker. At some point, my mom's dream was to own a hotel. He built a hotel for her. And my mom started. But the east wind always comes to us. And at one point, as successful as my dad was, finances, the economy of Ghana started affecting his cash flow. And the little money that when our mom was running her hotel, which my dad would laugh at the time, now became essential. So all of a sudden, that 10 cedis my mom was making was what was now holding the house together. But as children, we never knew that. As children, when it came to school fees, we went to see dad. When you ask mom for money, she said, go and talk to your dad. And dad was the pillar. But with time, as I was growing, I got to it, I thought, okay, this man was struggling. In speaking to my mom said, yes, he was struggling. But none of you would have known he was struggling because of the way we dealt with our finances. My dad did not believe in having a joint account. In fact, when I was getting married, he said, don't have a joint account. Because having a joint account means your wife would know everything about you. When you buy a house, put it in your name. Literally everything he said. And I was saved by having been exposed to a lifestyle once I got to the UK where joint ownership was more appealing than single ownership. And from that point onwards, he has his reason, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's giving me an advice and I just apply it without thinking it through. The only thing that would be in my name or in my wife's name was when we bought cars, because you couldn't buy cars on HP and have it on joint names. All the properties were acquired, joint names. And thank God we're not divorced, but even if we were going to divorce, whatever I have achieved together, whatever we have achieved together in the marriage is what is calculated. And that is what the split comes from. So imagine if I had 1,000 cedis before, my 1,000 cedis is still protected. If during the marriage, I am able to build 10,000 cedis, and sadly it comes to divorce, the law will look at the 10,000 cedis, not my 1,000.
I think that was a very good submission.
Thank you.
So there was this couple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they first met, the girl was doing fantastic.
Mm.
She had a property, she had a good job, she had some money saved, she had over £30,000 saved, did a remortgage, and got a bit more money. The money together came up to about 50K. Met this guy. Initially, the guy appeared to be very level-headed, all of that, They got married. And then the man asked if he can have access to the money so he can do some investment in Ghana. The dude brought the money to Ghana. It was gone. As I speak to you, they divorced. And one of the things that really got them to divorce was the finance stuff. The man initially showed that he can be trusted with money.
Right.
So then every decision the woman now made was in her favor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you blame her?
Twice shy.
Do you blame her?
I don't. However, I would encourage a woman to have some therapy because she becomes so insular that in the end, whoever comes her way, who might be totally different to the first person who's hurt her, will not benefit from her business acumen. Because everything because of that hurt, She's not allowing herself to grow. So she needs to have some therapy so that she can deal with that and get healed from that. You know, mistakes happen. And if, as you've said, the man has done what he's done, it doesn't mean that the man may not even learn in his next relationship. But we carry this baggage into the next relationship and we punish the next person for the sins that they never committed. So for the woman, yes, I understand. She has to protect herself. But get your self-worth, get your self-care. Be in a place where you are now back to almost before you met this guy, so you can dream again. One thing my grandfather said to me, he said the greatest gift he could give my mom at the time was education. And he said, once I've educated you, nobody can take it away from you. You are in business. How many times have we experienced this east wind that I'm talking about, where things have gone south? Your partners have walked away. You're left by yourself. You cried a little bit. Okay, not you. I cried a little bit. I cried a lot. I felt sorry for myself. And then one day I thought, okay, hold on. Enough crying. Get up. I dusted myself, went back out there and started pursuing the dream again. And it all starts coming back again. So what you know, in actual fact, when you go for divorce, what you know in terms of your business and how to generate money, that stays with you. So yes, I know it's painful. I know there are some people who've gone through divorce and it feels like they've been raped. Their money has been taken away from them. Take heart, get healed, and go back again.
They should do it again.
Go back again. Not go back again to the same woman, no. Go back again. Go back to building yourself up. Go back to building the business. Go back to building your dreams, because another woman will come. But if you are not secure in yourself, whoever comes your way, you would always see somebody who has become a scavenger, because that's all you will see. So let your eyes be clear. Allow yourself the opportunity to be healed. And brokenheartedness takes time. Emotional scars, emotional trauma takes time. Some people, it might take 7 years. It might take 10 years. And I encourage people, once you divorce, don't rush into getting married again. Get yourself healed. And the mistakes you've made, discuss it with the next person. If you didn't discuss finance before, talk about finance. And put those financial plans in place. Because the wonderful adage, little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. Somebody once gave me the illustration. If you put 1 penny down every single day, for the next, it's escaped me. But if you put a penny down every single day, they calculated that after a certain time, you will end up with 1 million, 1 million cedis. I keep going to the sterling, but you end up with 1 million cedis. And simply put, that consistency, nobody can take it away from you. But when you're hurt, you doubt yourself. You second guess yourself. You think you're not worthy. But go back. Push again. And you rise.
When I was growing up in Ghana, right, I didn't know this whole 50-50 stuff. I never saw it. I'd always thought it was the man that provided.
That's the illusion.
Always. Well, I guess we can call it an illusion, but that's what I saw.
Yeah.
The men always did the hard work. It was only when we got to London and I realized that, Charlie, this thing, everyone's putting in the pot.
Yeah.
But then what I then also saw was that marriages were breaking down over there very quickly.
Yeah.
And marriages here were surviving because the men were providing. The ones that I saw.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, some of them are still standing. Majority of them.
Okay.
And the majority of the ones I saw there with the whole 50-50 stuff, it's not working. I've come to the conclusion that naturally a lot of women don't want to work.
Naturally, the nurturing part of a woman would speak out more. And that's why. So if the agreement is that she takes the role of the homemaker, and let's not belittle the amount of work that goes in making a home. Our fathers may have just thought, oh, she's a housewife, and that's it. She is a financial controller. She is a stock. She's an accountant.
My wife is a saver.
You understand? Yeah. So she is not looking after just nurturing the children. She's an educator. She's making sure that the house is running. And all of these things, our fathers would give the then chop money. And this wife will then manage that chop money and out of that, save money. There's a friend in the UK who, his wife and himself, they both decided from the onset that he would go out to work because he preferred his children to be at home with mum. After reading all the research tells us that when mothers are home, or if any homemaker, whether the dad or the mum are home, it helps the foundational years of the children so the children can excel. And they agree that. So, isn't it amazing? One income coming into the home meant that the guy was able to provide. They had budgets. So they knew what it was. And the conversation is, we can't afford it yet. It's not met with resistance or a tantrum. Why not? No, we know where we're going. So even in that agreement, they knew where they were going. Now, it got to a stage, this gentleman's business started to fail. He got a job. And now income was tight. The wife started to work. He needed to buy another car. And do you know the amazing thing? They went to the showroom, they saw the car, they said, okay, fine, I have to get a loan. The wife said, we don't need a loan. Pardon? For all the money you've been giving me for the house keep, I have been putting some aside. And this car was, I think, about £6,000 or £7,000. She took her debit card, paid for it. And the guy goes, he had always underestimated his wife's ability to save. In 2019, my wife and I have been building our house. It took us 15 years to finish the house, right? I left the UK with my wife. We came to Ghana because I couldn't dream anymore in the UK. I was in debt. My business had gone bad, and the banks and everybody was after me. So I came to an agreement with the banks, and I said to myself, well, I can't dream in the UK. I need to find somewhere that I can reinvent myself. So I said, okay, let me come back to Ghana. I came to Ghana in 2013, after 30 years of being in the UK, with £1,500 as what I had in my hand. At one point, my wife and I had over 12 properties. 2007, 2008 came, the world financial crisis. And I'm talking about, speak about finances. We bought properties because I just kept saying to my wife, let's buy it, let's buy it, let's buy it. I didn't sit down and plan with my wife. And to God be the glory. Because when the financial crisis hit, we were able to sell these properties. We didn't make a profit, but we didn't get into too much debt. And we left the UK, came to Ghana, 1,500. I don't have the classmate network in Ghana, but I had my wife. I'd never worked in Ghana, but I had my wife. And we came down and we started working. Having left Ghana for 30 years, not understanding the working ethos in Ghana, I came, we started working, trying to understand the ethics, trying to understand this envelope thing, all the things that we needed to do. 30 years of building a character will not be diminished by quick gain. I was not prepared to bribe anybody to get a contract. So it took time. It took 10 years. Now I see the shoots of progress. So 2019, my wife and I came to the agreement, and I said, sweetheart, if you don't go to the UK, we'll go bankrupt. So my wife went to the UK, went back working. She's a lecturer, so she went back to lecturing. Derrick, in the space of 3 years, my wife saved enough money. Even though she was sending me money, she saved enough money for us to finish our house. And the house I'm talking about is the dream home. I wanted to buy a property in Hadleywood, and we couldn't afford it. And now, if I say Hadleywood, you're looking at a flat in Hadleywood at the time, 15, 20 years ago, was £1 million. That's a one-bedroom flat. And I wanted a mansion. At that time, we were looking at between £5 to £6 million to buy a house. And that's on mortgage. The house we have here in Ghana, we don't owe a peswa on it. We are mortgage free. My wife. So I tell all the young men out there and all the men who are in my age group that if we do not speak about these things, if we do not plan with our wife, you do yourself a disservice, because the helper won't be able to help you achieve the goal. Today I'm talking to you, right? My business is running. I have staff in my office doing things. My wife is running her business. If, I don't want to go spiritual on you, on too much scriptures, but if I hadn't found my virtuous woman, next year, officially in Ghana, next year, I retire. I turn 60 next year. Derrick, you tell me, if I don't discuss these things with my wife, will I still be alive? 2007, my health took a downward turn because of the financial difficulties I was going through. And that forced me to start talking about finance. So when I say it and it looks like, no, I have gone through, out of the 36 years of marriage, is in the last 15 to 20 years that I've been talking about finance with my wife. All along, I am the man, I'm supposed to provide. And I did all those things. And hey, it worked. But once things got tough, and I started saying, sweetheart, we won't make it. This month, I will miss the mortgage payments. No, we're not. And then she'll go in, pull money, and give me money. So we pay the mortgage. Then you can understand the essence of the conversation. So that's why I said it is the air. And once I got that freedom to be able to speak to my wife, it didn't affect my ego. In fact, being my virtuous woman means that when people see me, they think I have arrived. They think I am a wealthy man, and I am. I may be asset rich and liquid poor, but my wife has helped me to be who I am today. So I say to all the young men out there, if you're looking for a spouse, find somebody whom you can talk to. Find somebody who accepts you when you have nothing, but is prepared to work with your vision. So if we don't talk about finance, it becomes a problem. If we don't talk about intimacy, it becomes a problem. So the 3 reasons you gave us, communication, intimacy, and finance, if these 3 things are not spoken of in marriage, then the divorce is just waiting to happen. And there are times that you've done everything and still the marriage breaks down. Walk away, tap yourself on the shoulder and say, hey, I gave you my best. And if you can do that, you haven't lost anything. You pick up the pieces. Of course it hurts, but you're going to pick up the pieces. And the next person that comes along, if anybody comes along, you'll be the better for them. And if not, you can go solo and still capture the best in the world. Life teaches us that there are peaks, there are troughs, or in our Ghana context, there are potholes. It's not every road that is tarred and is smooth. There are potholes. And when you hit a pothole, is your finances good enough shock absorber to weather that punch and keep going? Or does it just make that loud clanging noise for you to know that there's a problem? So I say to every young man out there, whether you're married or looking to get married, if you cannot talk about finance with your future wife now, you have a problem.
Let me stop you here for a minute. If you've been watching this show, I want you to subscribe and become part of the family. We are on a journey of changing the lives of people on this channel. And we appreciate you for being here. But if you haven't become part of the family, connect with us. Hit the subscribe button. Now let's carry on the conversation. So I'm very good at making decisions about business.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I talk to my wife about it,
Mm-hmm.
The way she goes on about it, she doesn't like it. I don't like it. So for that reason, I make the decision and then we move.
Is it working?
Is that a bad idea?
I'm asking you, is it working for you?
That was a question.
It's not a bad idea. But what you have to understand is the person who's closest to you, who knows your weakness, who knows your strength, is your wife. And part of my downfall was not listening to my wife when I presented her with a business deal that had come. And if I had gotten that business deal, it didn't matter what happened in 2007. I'll still have over 12 properties. But I went for the quick fix, the early gratification. I went for that. And it cost me. When I came back home and I said to my wife, I didn't listen to you. I presented the business idea and you said, no, Richard, it's not a good idea. And I thought you didn't know any better. So I made the decisions. I did all the permutations and it looked good in my eyes and I did it. And it went south. You know what my wife did? She held my hand and said, okay, we're going to fix this. Our life savings was gone. We're going to fix this. How? We're going to fix this. Today, we're fixing it because we spoke about it. There are times you present a business idea to your spouse and they are not enthused about it. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea. In actual fact, an auntie of mine said, every time you present an idea and somebody challenges it, don't take it personal. Go back to the drawing board and answer those questions because it is their criticism that helps you to be a better business person.
Yep.
But when you take it personal, you then start devaluing the advice they're giving. So there's an irritation. And she's saying, no, I don't think so. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea. Why don't you think so? Why can't we have that conversation? Let her share the ideas with you. And Derrick, yes, there are times that you have a model, you're running with a model, and it works. I have a client who had a model in the UK. In the space of 20 years, bought 100 properties in the UK. 2007 hit. And he lost 87 properties. The guy almost went mad. He had 13 properties left. had a heart-to-heart conversation with his wife on the challenges and the difficulties. The wife saved the 13 properties, not by paying them off, but by negotiating with the banks and challenging the banks. Today, the wife has saved the family those 13 properties. Conversation. That's why when you go on a 5 CD date, you learn to talk. Because after intimacy, after the you're done. But go beyond the Go beyond that pride, that ego. Break that ego. Invite her opinion. Analyze it. Pray about it together and act. Listen, pray, and act. And when you do this, you build a solid foundation that when there's a financial problem, you're not stonewalling your wife. You say, hey, sweetheart, it's a hit. You celebrate. Sweetheart, it's a flop. You review. You learn the lessons. You pick up and you move forward again.
I want to get married next week. This beautiful lady, I really want to get married to her. I don't have a job, but I want to get a loan. Should I go ahead for the wedding?
No. I pause for a reason.
Why?
Your foundation will be shaky. Young people are getting married and spending too much money for a one-day event. My daughter, when she was about to get married, presented her budget that herself and her fiancé had at the time. And I remember when I saw it, and I said to her, nope, you got to go back. So you got to go back and read these figures. I said, for one day, I don't want to mention the figure. I'm so tempted to mention the figure. For one day, you are going to spend what is taking me half a lifetime to save. One day. I said, no, go back. And we worked with them. Thank God they were both receptive. We worked with them. Not just ourselves, but the boys' parents as well. The 6 of us, we worked together. We looked at what we were doing and were able to achieve the same effect for a third of what they had planned. Recently, one of my mentees got married, and to show he has arrived, came to me and showed me his wedding budget. Said, I spent 100,000 cedis on my wedding. And I said, are you cool? 100,000 cedis, one plot of land.
Yep.
100,000 cedis can build you a boys' quarters. It can build you a 2-bedroom self-contained property. You spend it on one day. It's got nothing to me being British, because apparently those who have lived in the UK were supposed to be Armstrong. Let's think. Every young woman, I've been told, and somebody might tell us that I'm wrong, that a woman, before she tells you her wedding, by the age of 5, she already has an idea of what type of wedding she wants. You carry yourself and go and show the woman that I can afford it without talking about the cost. We can have weddings, and I've had other mentees who have come to me and I've suggested to them, cut the figure down. And when they've done it, some people are going married with 20 cedis, 20,000 cedis. It was still a fantastic day. And the money they had raised, that they were going to spend on their wedding. Some have used to pay rent for 2 years for a property. Some have used to buy land, and they've started building. Derrick, let's go back. And I go back to my Christian values. So if you're not a Christian, please, you can agree or disagree with me. In 6 days, God gave infrastructure before he brought man.
Wow. Never thought about it like that.
So when he said to Adam, name the animals, tend the land, all the trees were already bearing fruit. Everything was there. So as a man, when we're going to get married, what we need to be doing is be thinking, for those who are Christians, we're saying we're abstaining before, so we abstain. On the wedding night, we get our wife pregnant. In the meantime, you haven't planned, you haven't bought land, and now you start having pressure. So now you're looking for other jobs. If you are not careful, you start being deceptive. You start stealing. You start trying to do your pack to make money. Why? Because you did not plan. But if both of you are to plan, I encourage couples who have just gotten married. I say, hey, either you learn the cycle of the woman or use a condom.
Should we buy homes before we get married?
God created everything before he brought Adam. If we're going to follow that principle, buy a home or start building a home, at least build a boys' quarters before you get married. Imagine dating, and I've heard your story, dating and you've now bought a property.
Yeah.
When there's problems, conversation is there. You guys are, because you're talking about your finances, the marriage is important, but you are securing the marriage.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Yes.
And my prayer is that 50 years from now, you'll be celebrating it. Not just with one property, but with lots more properties.
Yeah. She did a fantastic job. At the time, I didn't even have enough. I think we needed about £13,000. She coughed about 80% of that money. I had a little bit of money, and then she dropped it in there. And we bought our first flat, 2-bedroom flat. 2 years after we did a remortgage, took money out of the next project. So for me, it's I always say that this process, this whole financial stuff, she set me on the path.
Did it make you feel small?
No. I mean,
did you feel small? Do you feel threatened that she put 80% down?
I'm happy. In fact, if she had not, where would we have been?
But you only got that because you what? You spoke about it.
Yeah.
So today, when you look at the vastness of the blessing you're getting, you remember the lady who trusted you with her 80%. When she offends you, as much as your ego rises, you remember, when I needed to start, this woman was with me. It is only the ungrateful and the selfish that would build with their wife and then at the first sign of trouble, go for divorce. That's why I said, when the foundation is right, it can weather anything that comes.
So can you recommend a book for my audience?
Jack Canfield, Principles of Success.
Okay.
And he wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Okay.
It's a great book. The principles actually help you to apply things in business. That book, I mean, I have quite a few, but that one was what set me off when I started looking at going into the arena of business.
Okay, fantastic. And then this one, the best advice you've ever received.
The best advice I've ever received.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The best advice I've ever received is from my Auntie Laura, may she rest in peace. And she said to me on my wedding day, she said to me, the two shall become one. And she did the illustration, the two shall become one. And he said, that is the weakest of a marriage. Because when the two become one like this, you can easily break the two. But when the two become one, nothing breaks it. That's the best advice. And irrespective of all my wonderful flaws, and my stubbornness, my dear wife has kept me sane. She has kept me loved. And she has kept me who I am. So I'm learning every day to want to appreciate her and to understand that without my helper in her, the sweetness of life may have eluded me.
See, that illustration you just did from your auntie, that's going viral, isn't it? That is going viral. That is awesome. And if you've made it to the end, you are fantastic. In fact, you're a genius. Let the fingers start speaking. Comment below. Let me know that you made it to the end. If you didn't enjoy the conversation, it's okay. Just click down and watch another video from Connected Minds. My name is Derrick Abaitey, and I've enjoyed every bit of this conversation. So may you stay connected. I'm out.